Okay. Okay. So
Oh. Ah.
it's her South Node. So a lot of it is connected to her past life being, you know, things that had a lot to do with power and control and things to do with like any sort of abuse, narcissism, really dark stuff, shadow related
Mm.
stuff. So yeah, a lot of control stuff. So again, bear in mind that when it comes to astrology, it's a language of probability. So
Hmm.
anything I say here could be multiple past lives, different past lives, recent one, last one, first one, whatever. Any of it.
Hmm.
I can't really tell how far off. I'm not really sure. I haven't gone that far in terms of like, well, what date is that past life? We don't know.
Ah, right. Sure.
But it is one of the past lives, or I'm going to state several. So one of the things I see here is
But don't you bring that forward into your current life?
yes, we bring it forward, some of the lessons from the past lives.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it if they haven't learned it, then it'll be carried through.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
So a lot of it has to do with career as well, her
Mm.
ego, reputation, like whenever, that's kind of it's on the line, so to speak, when her reputation is on the line. So um let's double check what I got here about so the 10th house deals a lot with, like I said, reputation, standing in a community, like
Hmm.
her status, any sort of fame related stuff. Not that she needs to be famous, ambition, business or social activities, or business ventures, you can say,
Hmm.
employment, government, any authority over her. So her bosses,
Hmm.
leaders, whoever, coaches, whoever. Okay. And also how the world sees and evaluates her. Um, it's to a certain extent, I would say, okay, yeah, it's influence over her own circle as well. Whatever circle she's in, it's to her, however she influences. So she also becomes a sort of
Hmm.
position. She's in this position of sort of, could be leadership, could be a boss, any sort of authority, right? Um, and it also includes churches. So organizations, churches, possibly also traditions. Okay. This is also the parent that is the wage earner. So, and also public life, social status, like I said, career is part of this trade, profession, recognition. Yeah. So bearing that in mind, like it's also helping me as I say this. Um, she has one of the asteroids I see here is Pandora. The first one I see tied to this. And I'm going to combine them all. Hopefully I can do that because there's like about 10, more than 10 asteroids here.
Wow.
Um, actually 9 asteroids, one dwarf planet. Again, this is from my channel. So Pandora is one of the asteroids here. Pandora, you already know, you've heard of the story.
Story of
She's,
Pandora.
yeah, the
Yeah.
Pandora's box.
Let it out. Let out the. Yeah.
Yeah. So Pandora is not just like opening the box. She's like, that whole opening a can of worms,
Right.
right? That thing. That's basically what she is. She's also about like, well, there was hope at the bottom of the box, right? So she's the one who brings hope, that she's the one. But it's funny because it's like two-sided thing. Are you the one who takes away hope, or are you the one who brings hope?
Mm.
So in a past life, she was probably in doubt of her own innocence. It's in retrograde here. So she was quite, in many cases, unconscious of what free will is.
Mm.
So she didn't know how to, she really didn't know herself that well.
Mm.
Um, so she was kind of separated from people, or she was with the unconscious crowd, meaning she was doing things that was very reactive, very, if you took a look at the analogy of the box, it's kind of like, I'm going to open a can of worms. I don't give a fuck. Right. I'm
Right.
going to swear in my channel. So, So it's those kind of things. It's also like gifts. It's also about gifts that she had. She didn't, well, she doubted a lot of her gifts in the past,
Mm,
which she probably carried over in this life as well. It is retrograde, so I feel like it's more an internalized doubt, doubting uncertainty, insecurity about these things. Um, and there's extremes about also being feminine,
mm,
possibly either above or below men.
mm.
Okay. So she could have been multi-talented or very gifted, but again, she doubted that.
Yeah.
Um, it's showing me this retrograde, it's doubt. So, what else was there? She could have also misused a lot of her sexuality, sexual power. Doesn't necessarily mean sex. It could be sexual power, like the misuse of that creative process, where it was like
Hmm.
about control, or it was the opposite done to her. It was like maybe she's come across misogynist
Mm.
bosses, you know, people
Right.
in authority. Mm.
Definitely.
She could have also been working, probably this is a current one, like because it's a 20th century phenomena, um, working with special needs or gifted children
Mm. Yeah.
or private, I'm not sure. Okay,
Mm.
so we don't know if it's a current past life or this life. I don't know.
Right.
She could also have been into things like jewelry, necklaces, garlands, gowns, anything beautiful.
Hmm.
Um, she
Materialism.
could also have been like either disconnected from or connected directly to sources of information. Like maybe she's good with the internet, reading
Right.
books, libraries, social media. She could also have been involved in some sort of plague. Okay, those are
A
probably way
plague.
back then. A plague.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay. Yeah, that's part of it. Okay. And then we have here Adrastea. Adrastea is also in retrograde, so things are going to start to connect once I go through the asteroids. Um,
Hmm.
some sort of obligation towards social structure, society, um, obligation towards like workplaces, again, her bosses, probably the family itself, like whoever was the wage earner,
Hmm.
because maybe she felt like she had to owe, people things. She also has her moon in Scorpio tied to her Pluto. So a lot of it is probably past life. It's not really past life. It doesn't show this past life, but it is opposite. Let's see if it's connected to a past life. Well, it's connected to Pluto, so it's karmic. So something about her karma, her emotion, her habits that she carried through, probably from
Mm.
past lives. But it's not really a past life thing. I think it's more about this life because it's connected to that. So with her moon in Scorpio, my sun in Pisces, she has this tendency to actually escape from reality, even
Mm.
though her inner self wants to, or her soul, so to speak, her wants to, or to find the find genuineness in herself, find herself, because you can see life purpose, not really life purpose, but find herself. Like, what is it that you
Mhm.
really need? Or what do you want? So I feel like she hasn't really, maybe she's had issues with finding her um, basic needs because she didn't really know how to own that. She didn't have that power and
Mhm.
control over those things, especially when it comes to her own philosophy and about belief about herself, her identity. Because Jupiter here square this moon, Pluto, mind you, it's retrograde. So that means she's doubting her power. She doesn't have control over things. She's very much like not in control.
Mm.
Right?
Even though she
So
thinks she
that's,
is. Yeah.
yeah, that's her belief. She doesn't have that control.
Mm.
Um, so it ties in with what happened in your past lives, where she's not in control because she feels this obligation towards people. People who have Sun in Pisces have this tendency to be
Mm.
idealistic. It's the shadow tied to Virgo, which is perfection. So
Yeah.
perfectionism, idealism is very linked here. And so, and it's a lot to do with money, security, ability
Yeah.
to create money for herself, freedom,
Mm-hmm.
money as freedom, money making abilities, those kind of things. So she has those doubts about herself because she's so flexible with things, but it's too flexible. This is the
Mm,
part about Pisces that's kind of dangerous. It's kind of like you're too adaptive, you're too just going with the flow, but then maybe a lot of times she's kind of too dependent on her emotions and not all aspects of herself.
mm,
So I'm not trying to be negative here. There is a gift behind all this stuff, right? Because it's the gift of Pisces and Scorpio is being able to process the emotions, going deep and going far.
mm,
So if she ever, if she's ever working on any sort of like shadow work stuff, anything to do with embracing her wholeness, like meaning
mm,
every aspect of herself, the good, the bad, the ugly, all of it,
mm-hmm.
then she will start to find that power. Power is
Mm,
not power, right? We think power is a certain way, but it's not.
right.
So yeah, so she's had obligations from the past, and that's why it carries over into this life. It could probably
Mm-hmm.
still, sure. But I could say though that she did probably work. She probably had some sort of debt to either family, or she felt
Mm,
she had a debt to family, or culture, or groups she was in, or um, her bosses. Um, so anything to do with maybe she worked in a bank in earlier life, or she did in this life.
mm-hmm.
Treasuries, um, safe houses, storehouses. Well, it's something to do with like, I feel that part of her is also because of the insecurity. She's probably hoarding money. She's keeping money instead of spending it or balancing that.
Mm,
Okay. Um, she could also have been involved in some kind of public or private funding, maybe because she needed that.
mm.
Um, unless it was covert, unless it was a secret type of funding. Trade secrets. Um, in the past, maybe she was part of something she couldn't talk about, like illicit trafficking of
Yeah,
humans, slavery. Maybe she was a slave, so she felt that
right.
I must subdue myself. So maybe she was a
Mm,
slave. She probably was in an internment camp or reserve. We don't know. I can't tell right now what place asteroid is tied to this. In other words, where she was in her past life. I'll have to look into the other charts for the places. I did draw that up. There's a lot, but we'll have to see. If she
okay.
was in North America, not just now, because North America, like a Native American, that would explain it.
Huh.
Or, if she was like from Africa, or if there's something tied to that,
Mm-hmm.
but I can't see it right now.
Okay.
Um, let's see. Uh, yeah, so smuggling, not sure if it's part of that.
Mm,
Things to do with traps, smuggling. Maybe she was involved. Maybe she was a fisher. She was, because the Scorpio, it's water. Maybe she was a fisherman or fisherwoman, whatever. Um, Maybe there's something with biological assimilation, like in a really old past life as an animal.
mm.
That's potential, So, or a plant. I'm just saying that there's a lot of possibility,
Yeah.
but mm, so photosynthesis is one of those biological assimilated
Mm,
processes. Um, Not that she was into things being not she wasn't involved in anything in the body part being replaced, but adrastia is also part of that.
what?
Implants,
Oh, okay.
prosthetics, teeth
Mm.
filling, braces. I don't know if she ever had braces,
Yeah, she,
veneers.
yeah, she did.
Okay. Okay, cool. Okay.
Mm,
And then we're going to move on to Ixion. Ixion is bliss. He always represents bliss because Ixion is a part of an aspect of the psyche of the human soul that wants to just do what it wants, period. So she was probably highly misunderstood in the past, even probably in this life. Um, so she wasn't in touch with her powers, her gifts, her potential. So a lot of it was probably either not used, ignored, or just kind of put aside.
Hmm.
But there could have been issues regarding like vengeance, vindictiveness. It is in Scorpio, so these asteroids are her south node, which is the past life, is tied to is tied to Scorpio. So that includes vengeance, vindictiveness, destructive behavior, animalistic behavior, lust, sex, the inner wild child, malice, all those kind of things. But those are the dark stuff of Scorpio. Scorpio can rise above that by transmuting all those what we call the dark, like the evil energies, and
Mm-hmm.
using it towards like what is again that power, right? Because power doesn't come from control. Um, I don't know
Hmm.
if I don't know if you've ever seen Xena, the TV show, but there was an
Mm-mm.
episode where she was in China and she had to meet the daughter of her old like mentor, and she said that what was the lines from the show that from the episode? He said, "To conquer others is to have power. To
Hmm.
conquer oneself is to know the way." So kind of ties in with this one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Again, a lot of stuff with deep, dark emotions, obsessiveness, guilt, okay, suppression of emotions, violations. That's part of Ixion, but also Scorpio. Mm, anything to do with crime, um, I don't know, any type of crime, you name it. I'm not going to say all of them. Against carnality, connected just too much to the body, or she's gotten past that, but maybe she forgot in one of her past lives. Because sometimes when we come into a different past life, a new life, we want to learn something else. So there's something our soul decides it's we don't know. We forget. When we get here, we forget.
Right.
Um, let's see here. She could also have been into engineering, maybe in this life, something to do with meteorology, studying of the weather, atmosphere, earth science, or geology. That's kind of tied to that. Or she could have been in the hospitality industry, or just a host or hostess in a restaurant. Something about the well, this isn't really the 10th house, so but she could have there's a possibility she could have worked with in medicine or
Mm-hmm.
biology related to hormones, the endocrine
Mm-hmm.
system,
Hmm.
dopamine, oxytocin, uh, anything that relaxes you, or adrenaline,
Mm-hmm.
uh, or she could have worked with horses or somewhere in the wild, maybe like what jobs are there in the wild? Like forest ranger,
Ranger.
something like
Yeah,
that, right?
exactly.
hmm
Training
Um,
horses.
yeah. There's something about a father-in-law or an in-law.
Hmm.
I'm not sure if that's connected to that. Hmm. Okay. Then we go to Erato. I just actually finished research today on Erato. She was one of the muses. It had to do with mimetics, erotic poetry.
Hmm.
Um, so mimicking, copying, imitating. So it's part of literature,
Mm-hmm.
unless, maybe she was part of that, or she was part of either she was like the fangirl or she was the actual, the artist. And
Hmm.
then people came to her. She's very attractive, Um, but in this case, I feel because it's in retrograde, I believe it's still in retrograde. Yeah, it's in retrograde. So she probably has a lot of questions about, well, I don't know about now, but about her beauty,
Hmm.
whether she's desirable, loved, cherished, attractive,
Mm-hmm.
alluring.
Mm-hmm.
She's probably questioning her, like, he questions her own delicateness, like her gracefulness, right? Because the shadow of Scorpio is tied to Taurus. Taurus likes grace. Taurus likes beauty. Taurus likes the simple things in life. Scorpio doesn't care about that. But with Scorpio, that's the shadow where it becomes probably obsessive about something like this. So she
Hmm.
probably has insecurities about these kind of things. So she probably either copies, mimics other people, um, or they mimic her. Either way.
Mm-hmm.
She could have also had like not like she's not like her jobs career wise. She's
Mm-hmm.
it feels to her, I would say in her perception, it feels what's called star-crossed. It's like it's just I'm not meant to get this. I'm not meant to have this. I just yeah, right. Um, yeah. Again, so she could have also been involved with literature of some sort. Um, but I see here because it's Scorpio, it's also to do tied to nature. So something to do with animals that either imitate or mimic, like a parrot, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I don't know if she's ever had any of these animals or
Mm-hmm.
animals she's involved with those animals that they mimic, they
Right.
camouflage. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
So or she could have been in music because I feel like it's tied to is it tied to the other ones? Maybe music. I'm not sure. I don't see it. It's not really tied directly to music, but something to do with string instruments.
Hmm. Mm.
So I'm not sure. But did she work in, I'm not sure if she ever worked in like a lighthouse or something to do with torches, fire. Then okay. Okay, that's fine. It's probably like she felt cold in the workplaces she has been in. It's
Hmm.
cold to her. It's like it's not welcoming, it's not warm, it's not from the
Hmm.
heart. And that's not very good for Pisces. It's not
Right.
very, you
Yeah.
know, energizing. It's not good for one's vitality and strength.
Right.
Mm, maybe she had to go through financing or financial backing, um, funding, private funding, scholarships, bursaries.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, so now we go into the other asteroids where they're not retrograde, so that's a good one. Um, I can see right away she's had a lot of issues at work with anger. She's had to
Hmm.
fight it. Anger, fighting. You have Tyr here. He was the Norse god of war. But he's not just Norse god of war. He's also, there's something else here. Being decisive. So she's had to be courageous when it comes to work, when it comes to her career, um, and kind of finding confidence in that and finding kind of being unbreakable, being just,
Mm-hmm.
that just, standing her ground.
Mm-hmm.
And she's probably had to be clever, but also take risks. Excuse me, so yeah. Um, I don't know if she's worked for companies or bosses that something to do with kettles and pots
Hmm.
or anything with alcohol brewing. Okay,
Hmm.
that's fine.
Interesting.
Oh, the animals thing is coming up again. Okay,
Hmm.
so maybe with animals. She's probably worked with companies that deal with animals. A zoo, could be a zoo, could be a shelter.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Um, specifically animals that bite. Animals
Hmm.
that bite.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if she's ever been bitten by an animal, but
I don't know. I don't think so.
that's fine.
Maybe.
Oh,
Mm.
that's okay. That could include anything that's I don't know, or maybe she's had other types of bites like leech, spiders, insects, you know.
People.
But mosquito is a common one. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna
Oh,
doubt that.
she definitely gets mosquitoes.
Okay, okay. Um, has she gone into some sort of rehab or healing methods? Not really, right?
No.
Okay. Something about nourishment and nutrients. I feel
Hmm.
like it's connected to that because we have Erato earlier. So maybe I don't know if she's worked for like a vitamin company
Mm-mm. But
or
she's
she's
putting into supplements.
supplements. Okay. Okay. That makes sense. Anything to give her strength, I would say that's part of that as well.
Hmm.
Okay. Mm, definitely constrained. She's definitely, we talked about it. She's felt kind of constrained with work, career,
Hmm.
um, something maybe, okay, grandparents. Was she, does she get along with her grandparents?
She did when they were
Okay.
alive.
And distant relatives as well?
Hmm.
Okay.
She
Okay.
does. Not,
Okay. How about relatives once
she's
removed?
an isolated person, so
Yeah. No, no, I'm not surprised. Relatives once removed, do you have those?
relatives once removed, like cousins and all. Yeah, she does. I mean, no, I mean, she has a lot of cousins she keeps up with.
Okay. So there you go. Yeah, that's part of that. She kind of gets however she does it, she resonates with them maybe because maybe they go with her, they see her as like, oh, she's
Yeah, well,
kind of
they grew
mysterious.
up. Yeah, they grew up together, so
Okay.
solid.
Uh, okay. She might have, did she work for the police, investigations,
Yeah.
research? Okay. Anything about stalking?
No,
That's fine. No, no, that's okay.
no, not stalking. No, no,
That's
no.
fine. That's fine. Okay.
Medical industry.
Unless it was a past life. Again, this is tied to her past life.
Yeah,
Maybe she was
right.
stalked. Um, maybe she worked for chariots. Like she worked for like a, either like a car company or like a wagon, or something
Mm-hmm.
to do with that, or something
Hmm.
to do with bolster seats and cushions. So car company, I would say.
Hmm.
Uh, maybe she was also involved in like what do you call that? Smithing, smiting, like
Like
swords. What do you call
yeah,
that?
metal.
Armories, like metalwork, yeah, or
Uh-huh. Metalwork.
metallurgy,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. Um, or maybe she was she was in the military, or any of the four, military,
Hmm.
Navy, Air Force, Marines. Um, something to do with trades as well. I don't know if she's done trades in this life, like anything with exchanges. Because I feel like
Mm-mm.
it's tied to the Errado, something to do with um the funding of trading.
Hmm.
No?
Hmm.
Okay.
Hmm.
Let's see here. Something to do with oaths or pledges, maybe as a
Hmm.
security guard, like insurance, like an insurance
Yeah,
company.
done all medical. That's it.
Okay. Solo medical. That makes sense with the Scorpio. Yeah. Okay. Pele is also here. Oh, she probably was involved in some sort of like, oh, maybe investments. Did she invest in anything?
She has recently, I think.
Okay. So she, in the
These are all
past, she
the
could,
asteroids that are here, these names.
yeah,
Erato,
yeah,
Pele. Okay.
yeah. So you can see it. Great. Awesome.
Right. No, no,
Um,
no.
but in past life, she could also have been involved in some kind of summoning, either
Hmm.
as like a judge or, magical. You don't know. Because
Hmm.
it is Scorpio, because it's also mysterious. There's a
Hmm.
mystery with that. But there's something about fire. So I feel like in the past life, she was involved with fire. Because Pele is fire. She's the Hawaiian goddess of volcanoes and fires.
Right. Uh-huh.
So, um, temper is an issue, of course, in the past life. So if she hasn't learned how to master herself, like with anger, she's
Yeah.
learning it now.
Hmm. Okay.
Okay. Again, with the vindictiveness here, part of that. Maybe arsonry. Maybe she was in a past life, something about combustion, you
Hmm. Okay.
so something to do with a lot with fire, unless it was forest fires or wildfires, like, because I feel like it's tied to the flow of you call it the wildlife thing. So I feel like
Hmm.
she was kind of a forest ranger of some sort in the past.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe. Past life.
Uh-huh.
Who knows?
Yeah. Unless she was also involved, like she used to probably live in Hawaii in a past life.
Hmm.
If she's drawn to that somehow, she feels connected to like fire and volcanoes and
Yeah.
lava.
Yeah,
heat.
she's been twice. She's seen
Okay.
volcanoes.
Okay, so there you go. All right. Um, let's see here. I don't know if she's concerned about global warming. She's kind of connected to that. Maybe that's
Hmm.
something that she can get into. Um, she probably also had issues with inflammation, so headaches and migraines. If she still has that
Mm-hmm.
today, that
Yep.
means it's part of
Yep.
that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, we have here Cyrene. Cyrene
Yeah.
was the sirens. So
Right.
again, something to do with seduction.
But Cyclops. Yeah. Hmm.
Cyclops? Right?
Yeah. Wasn't Cyrene with Cyclops or
No.
the boat or something?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Okay.
I forget. I forget what
The guy's name.
Greek. God. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I know what you're
I
saying.
can't think
He's
of who it is. I want to say it was Cyclops or something was involved with Cyrene.
Odyssey. The Homer's
Odyssey. Thank
Odyssey.
you. Yeah.
Um, Orpheus.
Mhm. Excuse me.
I know what you're talking about. I think I know what you're trying to say. Yeah. Okay, so Cyrene, the sirens. So sexual manipulation, sexualization,
Mm,
lulling to sleep. I don't know if she was kind of like, um, this is a weird one. Like maybe in past life she's used to drowning out things she didn't want to. She kind of, there was a lot of,
mm,
again, that shadow stuff, like resistance.
mm,
She just drowned it out.
mhm,
Maybe she was into loud music or
mm,
music that drowned things out or sounds.
mm,
Um, or alcohol drug consumption.
possible. Right.
Okay. Um, maybe sex as well, because it includes here like climaxes, orgasm, and post-orgasmic states, but
Mm,
also like something to do with, yes, of course, sirens and alarms.
mm-hmm.
So I don't know, because I'm feeling that it's tied to Pele, so fire. So firefighting, maybe
Uh-huh.
in a potential,
Huh.
maybe it's not a past life. I feel like it's potential, right? So I don't know. She could have been a firefighter of some sort in the 20th century, earliest 20th century. Because something to do with fire, right? It's
Mm,
tying back to Tyr and then Pele, so fire. Um, but this one's also tying to eroto, so something about singing. I don't know if she's done voice classes,
no,
singing, any of
no,
that stuff.
no, no.
Okay, so that's a past life thing. So she probably was a singer. She played instruments, right? String instruments here as well. Or she was very good at it.
Mm-hmm.
She can make people sleep. Something about drawing them and subduing them. Okay.
Mm,
Mm, binding. I'm not sure she was involved in some kind of. Okay, the nets are coming up again here. Binding, some sort of straight
mm,
jackets. Unless she was in a straight jacket because she was misunderstood, like a crazy
yeah,
person in a
yeah,
past life,
sure. Mm,
I wouldn't be surprised. Um, because even people who would had these kind of powers to subdue people were probably considered like
mm,
witches. She was probably
definitely. Yeah,
yeah,
misunderstood. Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know if she's drawn to mermaids, vampires, the
Mm-hmm.
mythical stuff. Okay.
Mermaids, not vampires. Definitely mermaids.
Or whales and
Mm-hmm.
dolphins. Okay. Hmm. I feel did she have short term whenever she worked for a company, was it really short? She ended up
No,
she,
all of her jobs have been pretty long term.
okay. So it's not
I
okay,
mean,
that
I
makes
think she's
sense.
had a couple that might have been short term. But.
Okay. Okay. Um, something to do with illusions, mirages. I'm
Mm,
not sure if it's tied to the other one. Okay, that's okay. Light, something to do with light again, light reflection. We talked about fire again, but then light, like
mm-hmm.
lighthouses. She probably worked
Mm-hmm.
in a lighthouse sometime in her past life. Okay. Um, and I don't want to say this, but Brothel shows up here, so it could have been one of past lives, but not. I'm not claiming anything. I'm just saying. Yeah.
Right.
Um, I see here birds, owls, and something about. Hmm, maybe that's not it. But anyways, I see here birds, owls, and flight.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see that in the other ones. But snakes, serpents, basilisk, jackals. Hmm,
Mm-hmm.
not sure.
Hmm.
Predation or predators, prey and predators. Um, oh, hunting. Okay, that's kind of connected to the hunting. So she used that and probably was a hunter in a past life. That makes sense with the animals as well.
Mm-hmm.
So so instead of like a forest ranger, which probably is a different life, she was also kind of a hunter. Really old past life then.
Mm-hmm.
Um, she was she always involved in biracial bosses? Her bosses are biracial, like mixed?
I don't know.
Okay, that's okay.
But she has been involved with like biracial people,
Okay,
like boyfriends and things like
okay.
that.
Okay.
Hmm.
Hmm. She could also have been involved in some sort of like ushering, like a guide of some sort. I don't know. Or part of her career path is that she is being guided, but she's has to find out what that means. Um, she could also have worked with aromatic scents, sweet stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's tied to Pandora.
Mm-hmm.
So she could have been maybe dabbling in sort of things that are sweet smelling, that are, it's also erato, which is like alluring, anything to do with sweet scents, alluring scents, smells, anything to do with the senses, any
Mm-hmm.
of those things. Could be food, it could be fragrances, it could be herself, it could be beauty, it could be anything,
Right.
music. Okay, so the other last asteroid that I'm working with in the south node
Oh,
is
yeah.
Minerva. So
Oh, yeah.
Minerva is the equivalent of, I don't know if you can see it, but
Is that the snake
yeah.
woman?
No, Minerva is the Roman equivalent of Athena.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So she is about justice, victory,
Okay.
um, wisdom, but she's a little different from Athena, where she's not as controlling.
Mm.
It was
Mm.
about unexpressed kind of wisdom. It was more
Uh-huh.
about, it was a little bit different. It's a lot tied to the pointing of fingers, guilt tripping, manipulation, favoritism. That's still Athena as well. Um, deceit and fear, snake in the garden, decency, sympathy, um, giving gifts to others, like kind of like not just literal giving gifts, but kind of like imbuing, if that's the right word for that one.
Mm.
Um, it's like that saying, one man's trash is another man's treasure.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, so she basically, it shows like resourcefulness,
Mm.
right? So
Mhm.
tragedy to trophy. So that's kind of what she's learned from past lives, where it's like, oh, this isn't, if this didn't work out, then how do I do this? This actually ties in exactly with Scorpio, which is resourcefulness. Scorpio is a very resourceful energy. Um, on a more earthly perspective, she could have been involved in some sort of weaving. She was a goddess of weaving.
Huh.
Um, the law, so the legal system. That's the judge thing makes sense because um, if she was the one, what was this? Something about address the obligation, or there was something about the
Mm-hmm.
motto, something about judgment, like not judging, not judgment itself, but like being kind of like, what did I see earlier? I don't know. It's
Obligated.
tied to being a judge or something like that.
Mhm.
Like not condemning. It's different. I'm not talking about condemning or, judging
Mm-hmm.
itself, like sentencing, but that could still be involved in that. That could still be part of that.
Hmm.
Um, Tactic and strategy, that's a Scorpio thing. It's part of this. Um, she could also have been some kind of matron, unless like she lived till like old age.
Hmm.
in past lives.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so let's see here. The animals are coming out again. Owls are coming back again here. Snakes coming back. Hmm. Was she an athlete?
She was, or
Okay.
is.
Yeah, so that's Minerva as well. Yeah. Um, so in another past life, something to do with armors again. So weaponry.
Hmm.
That's part of this one. Um, arts and poetry. Again, that's the erotic thing. So
Yeah.
must have been she must have been involved in it somehow in this life or in a different life. Here's
Mm-hmm.
where the medicine comes in. This is Minerva. So she shows here that she is into medicine. Okay.
Hmm.
Possibly also related to business and wealth opportunities, probably tied to medicine. Something about doctrine or indoctrination. Um, is that tied? That's tied to Saturn earlier here, just Saturn right here. It's in retrograde. So in this case, it's not so much as she was indoctrinated, but she didn't like it. She doesn't like the indoctrination. She doesn't like systems. She despises it. And she's like, it's not real.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know if she was an assassin. So sorry, but I'm just saying,
I hope
I'm
not,
seeing,
but
not
you
in a
never
different
know.
past life. Yeah. So,
Right.
um, again, the dirty work stuff, corruption, because we talked about it earlier about human trafficking and those are kind of dark
Right.
stuff. Those would probably be in the past life. So I think in this life, her soul, when she entered, well, of course we forget. Typically we forget. She probably, her soul probably decided to say, you know, I'm going to try to learn the lesson of having
Mm-hmm.
corruption, feeling that as if I'm in that, you know, I'm not above I'm not the one causing corruption, but rather I'm the one under it. So that way because that's how we choose when we choose lives. If we want to come back and learn a lesson, we
Mm-hmm.
have to, then we come back and learn that.
Mm.
So, yeah. Uh, something of,
Hmm.
okay, tied to water again, that's a Scorpio thing. Evaporations, okay, that's just different. Gravity, so yeah, that's Saturn. So there's a lot of weight that she carries with her reputation, ego, and ambition, all that stuff. Is very heavy for her.
Hmm.
Yeah. There's one thing I missed here. It's core. Core is in retrograde. It's not an asteroid. It is a dwarf planet, so it's way out there. What that
Hmm.
signifies is it's a different depth of the human psyche. It's not just like basic, you know. It's about being in touch with life itself. That's core. It's the potential to enjoy what life really is, not what we think it is, but being alive itself, that sort of inner
Mm-hmm.
breath, that
Hmm.
intelligence, that like pulse, like a just as life. Like when we connect to that, that's core. Um, it's still connected to many earthly things, like we know, like transformation, death and rebirth, all all types of elements, all imaginings of mind, body, soul, and spirit, intelligence over all energy and life, the complexities of life,
Hmm.
reverence, awe, sacredness, creative impulse. A lot of it is about sacredness because core represents um, what is this one? The transition of life, like when you have when you become a teenager,
Mm-hmm.
that's core.
Mm-hmm.
So what is that one called? Puberty. So, um, so 10th house wise, meaning her career wise. Um, law is part of this one as well. Yeah, law. She's again, that's probably a past life thing. Family drama.
Hmm.
Okay. Orphans again is coming up here. Orphans
Hmm.
and children and um I saw that earlier. She's also, but I don't know if she's afraid of or she's had issues with bosses that were like foreigners, or rather complications with communication when it comes to like language barriers.
Possibly. I don't know. Hmm.
Okay. Although she probably likes it, but there's a questioning about it.
Hmm.
Um, so multiculturalism, right? So yeah, she's probably experienced like culture shock in past lives because maybe she was again she could have been a slave. If she was,
Hmm.
then it was like a culture shock. Definitely, that ties into that. Um, so cultural suppression, right? Assimilation, that kind of stuff. Um, if she's involved with summoning and invocation in past lives, she could also have been like some kind of like what do you call that? Hmm. Someone who does the canonizing of people become saints,
I don't
or
know. I don't
maybe in
know.
an ancient time. Yeah, I don't know. Sailors is included here. We had here Cyrene. So again, she
Hmm.
could have been, yeah, she was involved in water. A sailor, that's not surprising. Back to animals, rattlesnakes, bears, mountain lions. Okay. Um, I'm not sure if she was had to go through some sort of initiation at work or medical school. Was there initiation there?
No, but there was with sorority.
Hmm. Okay. Okay.
I mean, there might, I
Uh,
mean, I'm sure there was some kind of initiation possibly, but
okay. Okay. Does she identify with being non-binary?
no,
Okay. Maybe she has people who she works with that are non-binary, anti-label, like she does either she doesn't like that or she works with people like that.
I don't think
Or
she, I don't think she likes it.
okay, that's fine. She was also probably like in her past life before she passed, like an adolescent boy or teen.
Hmm.
Hmm, maybe she was um like subdued or like given an hallucinogen
Hmm.
somehow, or she was involved in that.
Hmm.
The singing and dancing is coming back here. So, and she could have also been part of an orchestra in a
Hmm.
different life. You don't know. Mhm. Mm, collectivism, that's part of that. Architecture, okay, she could have been part of that. Oh, was she there from the very beginning of the Big Bang of this universe? That's interesting. Maybe
Hmm.
she was. Like, little things. So there's a
Right.
memory of that. I know that's a little weird, but yes.
Hmm.
She could also have been a mystic as well. Some kind of mystic. Um, and she could also have been into other stuff like art and science,
Hmm.
psychology, neuroscience. Um, I feel like is she a late bloomer or does she kind of initiate things a lot? Like what's the
No,
opposite of late bloomer? Early
no.
bloomer?
I don't know,
Okay.
aggressive. I don't know. She's definitely a late bloomer.
Okay. Yeah. Especially when it comes to her like career path she's chosen. Like did she choose that late?
No, no, not
That's
really.
pretty
No, she
okay.
chose
She's
that
pretty
pretty
early on.
early.
Okay. Okay. What else is there? Something about number seven. Um, oh, she could have been a giant, or somehow she could have been really tall in a
Giant.
past life, unless she's really tall now. So, okay.
No, it's not that tall. No,
Okay.
she's short.
Grad, yeah, okay. So, with all this stuff that's happening, so this very heavy stuff that's happening,
Yeah, I see that.
with her career, um,
Hmm.
in this life, she's being called to take those things, the gifts from the past, which is a lot of it is tenacity, the shadow work stuff, healing, rising above all the anger, the
Mm.
wrath, the misuse of sexual power, misuse of power into something higher, and then bring
Hmm.
that into her environment, to her home environment. It could be you as her family or a different type of family. Just she's here to learn all that and kind of ground herself a lot more. She's
Mm.
very she's she's not it's not that she's not grounded, but because she wants that idea like she's very what's like out there, right? Pisces
Yeah.
loves mysticism. mystics, fantasy, all that stuff. And same with Scorpio. But she's been
Mm-hmm.
called to be more grounded in this life and say, take it easy, relax, enjoy the
Right.
little beauties of life,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, she might have to, let me see here, Themis. I know what this one is. I believe something to do with a specific spiritual gift, intuition.
Mm-hmm.
So she's to use the intuition of her past life, also the instinct as well, and logic. Logic is still part of Scorpio. Um, so like she could tap into prophetic abilities or visions, so
Mm-hmm.
foresight. Okay. She can be part of that. Her past life involvement with the law, what in this case, higher law, can be brought
Mm-hmm.
down into this plane. She
Mm.
can be more of an understanding person as well. Because the thing with Scorpio is that Scorpio, this axis between Scorpio
Uh-huh.
and Taurus is that it's very stubborn. It's a very stubborn energy. So
Yeah.
it's the thing about it is about security and trust. So security and trust, but also things with earthly things. But here she's being called, her soul wants her to move forward and say, you can still have those things, but you have to listen.
Mm-hmm.
You hear I'm saying here, Themis is listening to Gaia, listening to
Mm.
your earthly self, listening to your, what can you make with material things? Instead of the whole like, oh, I'm going to buy it. It's like, why don't she, maybe she could make something. She could form something.
Mm.
She could, right? She
Mm-hmm.
could forge things. It's actually tied to Atira here. Atira is a Native American, I forgot which nation. She's a
Mm-hmm.
Native American goddess about corn and
Mm.
being connected to farming, harvesting,
Mm-hmm.
natural roots, all
Mm.
that stuff. Um, but going back to Themis, she can be into a specific type of custom or her own values, where she can create her own status quo. Um, Reverence for nature is a big one here, right?
Mm.
So, and having reverence for herself as well. She's part of nature, sacredness, just having that balance, but also working more on compassion, sympathy, and empathy, fostering ability to care for others, nursing, caring, right?
Mm-hmm.
Softer. She needs to be softer, but also at the same time watching out for certain signs, um, but not where it's coming from fear. Yeah. What else can I say about Atira? Double check here. Atira is, yeah, so the inner and outer nature. That makes sense, right? So maybe she's been kind of, I don't know, she's been involved with um grafting, plant grafting, plant breeding,
Yep.
GMOs. Okay, not sure. Okay. Horticulture of some kind, forestry. So I feel like that's a past life thing she can
Huh.
bring back.
Yeah. Exactly.
Mhm. Yeah.
Mm.
Natural farming, like permaculture. That's a good
Mm-hmm.
one. It's very hands-on. It's very relaxing. It's very healing, actually, because what's happening is that we don't see this because we don't see energy really, unless you can, of course, mediumship, you
Right.
can see energy. Um, but she can ground herself more. But that energy, when she has all those traumas, she can give it to Gaia. She can give it to the earth. She can
Ah.
do some sort of ceremony, or as part of her past life. She can find ways to go back to that ceremonial self, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and use it to kind of like to be more celebratory of things and say, okay, I released and I relinquished the pain that I've had in past lives and the life that I've had here.
Mm.
Perun here is, I love this one. It's my first Slavic god that I've made into, that done research on.
Uh-huh.
Um, it's mom being
Mm.
decisive, finding her North Star, finding the way, looking up and trying to like, so she doesn't have to lose her spirituality or mysticism or whatever, fantasy. She can use that towards something that is more about being more certain, and distinct
Mhm.
and decisive about what clear cut and transparent as well. Because one of the things about water is it's not really transparent,
Mhm.
right? So she needs to find that, but she also probably needs to stand out, be unique, special. She's afraid of that. Right? She isolates and all that stuff. That's because she hasn't found her power yet, or she's
Yeah.
probably discovering it a little bit. Um, yeah. So she has to find that, like, that energy of like she can be great too. She can learn to celebrate that. Doesn't have to be an ego thing. It just could be like, oh, I appreciate myself.
Mhm.
Um, and she's also being called to completely get rid of the other things that are no longer serving her. Like complete, like just really like heal it. Go through
Mhm.
any sort of healing modality.
Mhm.
Really heal it. Okay. Um, because otherwise it might come back and she'll just be like more pain, more pain, more pain.
Right.
Okay. Um, I don't know if she's drawn to Slavic or Baltic cultures. That's still kind of part of this process. So, mm, having followers, maybe. I don't know if it's something to do, not necessarily social media,
Mhm.
um, but kind of that kind of stuff. She doesn't have to be a follower of some kind, but she can have some kind of, to a certain degree, a patronage. People not necessarily following her, but kind of respecting her, or the opposite, right?
Mhm.
So again, the reverence thing is part of this one. Okay. Um, we're going back to, I don't know if she's ever been drawn to working with gemstones.
Gemstones? No, not
Okay,
really.
that's fine.
Nothing there.
In a farm, maybe. I don't know if she's working a farm.
No.
Okay.
Maybe gone to a farm, but that would be it.
Okay. Cool. So going back to kind of like old traditions, finding those kind of things and finding the good in that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, storehouses is coming back here. Warehouses. I don't know if she's working a warehouse, depots. Um, but yeah, I don't know. Or it's tied with the family, so it's probably with storehouses with the family. I don't know if you guys have storages.
Yeah, we have storage lot. Yeah, storage
Okay.
places.
Okay. Was she ever into astronomy, or
No.
did she start it? Okay. Okay. Because if she's into medical stuff, that can tie in with the science of astronomy. I don't know.
Mm.
Uh, let's see here. Taking a stand, of course. Maybe establishing something. It could be her own
Mhm.
feeling of like, her own sovereignty. That's tied to this one. So she could be a leader of some sort. Working in a community that will help her. Working with groups.
Mhm.
Maybe a polyamorous family. I'm not sure, but they're different
Mhm.
people. That's the point. Um, does she have issues with muscle in this? Do you feel she has issues
Mhm.
with muscle?
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Um, choosing her, what she calls like her friends or enemies, or rather frenemies, kind of being
Mhm.
okay with that. You're different and I'm different, and that's how it is. Instead of
Yeah.
like resisting that, because that doesn't work anymore.
Mhm.
Uh, okay, I don't know about weaponry here. I wouldn't put that in here, but that's part of this. The with Perun. Being kind of also like an observer. I feel like something to do with observance. Not sure. Or having boundaries, having healthy boundaries. That's one of the things here too. That's tied to the fourth house. Fourth house is related to the family. Or north node is in the fourth house. So north node, just to clarify, it's the path that's moving forward. It's the path that we're in.
Mhm.
Uh, so she might still go through a lot of like these conflicts, um, or unexpected, like what you call like openings. I don't know. Does she have a lot of cavity? Did she
Cavities
develop a
in
lot of
the mouth?
cavities? Yeah. Nope.
No, not
Okay.
a lot. No.
Maybe somewhere in the head because it's Taurus. It's this
Mm.
ear, the ear, nose, and throat area.
Mm.
So she's probably that's something she needs to honor now. As
Hmm.
in the past, she's had a lot of issues with sexual reproduction, but also like the digestive system in the
Hmm.
intestines. Okay.
Mm.
Yeah. Um, let's see. Has she found a twin? Was there a twin? A
Nope.
long lost twin?
Nope.
Interesting.
Mhm.
Okay. Unless it was someone to look like her.
I don't know.
Interesting. Okay. Um, ah, again, working with that whole empath and narcissist, like, split. She has to be okay with like dealing with that. If
Hmm.
she's against fame, I think she shouldn't resist that. So she doesn't have to be famous. She just have to come out of her closet, so to speak.
Yeah.
Okay. There's another one here. So Callisto. Oops, 1 second. It's a little slow. Callisto is, I forgot what she was. Was she history? No, rejection and injection. Okay, so she's about transformation.
Hmm.
Ah, going back to the wildness, the wilderness. Okay, feels like it's still going back to the wilderness thing.
Hmm.
Okay. Um, if she might still have to really work through that. You know, any crimes she's had in past lives, which she might not know of unless she meditates on it, like she goes to a past life regression, like QHHD, that's one.
Hmm.
She might, there might be a reason why sometimes she resists fame, power, control. She,
Hmm.
because in the past she probably was controlling. I see it now because
Right.
Callisto is about being punished for a crime as a result of an imposition made by the Punisher. Or
Hmm.
she was what do you call this? Not just misunderstood, what do you call that? Misjudged, condemned. Yeah,
Hmm.
imposed guilt, owning people, unless she was the Punisher, right? Unless she was, there's something about judges, there's something about judgment in the past, right? I saw it, and that was a big one. Um, okay, yeah, coming out, but also, and I'm not claiming anything, but it's a non-heterosexual relationship.
Hmm.
I don't know. Okay. Unless she also has internalized heterophobia, I don't know, or she
Hmm.
deals with misandry or misogyny still. That's one of
Hmm.
the lessons she's still probably going through. Or maybe she's taken a vow of virginity, or taken a vow of what's that one called? That word,
Yeah. Right.
abstinence. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So she doesn't have to do that, but she can respect the body. She can respect, her sexual power, because it doesn't
Hmm.
have to be about sex.
Right.
Mm, if she's afraid of like being pregnant or being taken over, misabused, that's
Hmm.
understandable, right?
Hmm.
Maybe in the past life she was, right?
Hmm.
So I can understand that. But yeah, so I'm not saying she's supposed to be pregnant or have children, but it's more about having that motherness about her, the softness, like I said, right?
Hmm.
Her tapping into her inner mother. What do you call that?
Motherhood? I don't know.
No, no, like the
Inner mother is right.
yeah, yeah. But there's another one I'm thinking of. Okay.
Hmm.
Um, hmm, maybe something about going against any sort of like any of the arms race,
Hmm.
um, weaponry, because I feel
Hmm.
like it's tied to that power thing. Because I have here Spartacus. Spartacus is Spartacus. You know Spartacus.
Right.
He was
Yep.
like all about freedom, human
Right.
rights. So something about not necessarily like armory or like weapon, because this is
Hmm.
the fourth house, so it's about the home environments. It's more about like standing up for what's right, but at the same time, not, you know, um, not taking shit from
Hmm.
things that are very like I'm against you, like that energy of like I'm against you, I'll shoot you if you come close, kind. That energy, it's very violent. So really healing from that and really going through that actually even going to her ancestry. This is the fourth house. So if she goes to her ancestry, heritage, um, genetics,
Mm,
okay, but also like past life stuff, that will
mhm,
help her. So, oh, drag. I don't know if she's into costumes or anything. She could have fun with that,
mm,
right? So, she balancing also the individualism with collectivism.
mhm.
I don't know if she went through bullying in this life. Maybe
Yeah,
she got
she did.
bullied.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Again, oh, the astronomy is coming here. Stars and constellations. So if she's ever interested in that, she can tap into that as well. She could
Mm,
dabble. Doesn't matter. Just have
right.
fun. The point is enjoy the earthly stuff we have. This is Taurus. Taurus is the earthly
Right.
things, right? And keeping it simple,
Mm,
right? Um, so again, working through the trauma that she's had before, even if she has to be like the underdog, even if
mhm.
she's underestimated and belittled, um, voices unheard. I feel like there's something to do with the something about the foresight, something about one of her clairs or her clairs.
Mm.
I don't know. She can work on that because she has those skills. She's psychic. She has psychic abilities. She doesn't know it, or maybe she resists it. She has.
I think she resists it.
Yeah, that's okay. When I say that's okay, I mean like it's the journey she's in is the journey she's in. That's fine.
Right. Exactly.
Um, yeah, any sort of toxic stuff she's had, any toxic relationship she's had, whether it's family or not necessarily because it was toxic, but it's her perception of it. Because
Hmm.
forgiveness doesn't come from outside, right? It's from within. It's not about whatever she perceived it to be. Because, again, her moon in Scorpio shows there's a lot of emotions, and
Right.
that's fine. I understand that. I don't really fully understand it, but I do know trauma.
Hmm.
So, like, we all go through trauma. When we're born, we have trauma.
Hmm. Yeah.
So, it's getting out of that idea of like out of victimhood, right?
Hmm.
So, yeah. So, it could also be that the Spartacus placement here of this asteroid shows that instead of being powerless, instead of being suppressed by and oppressed by her own beliefs in the past life that she's been conditioned to have, being human, it's learning to release all that slowly. And this is
Hmm.
in Taurus, so the sooner she starts, the better. Meaning, because it's slow, it's a slow energy. Taurus is the most stubborn energy in the zodiac. It's
Mm.
slow. Okay. The last one here is Ceres. So I believe she's probably already experienced this, where she's had to kind of be her own parent. She's felt like
Hmm.
she has to be her own parent. She has to take care of herself. Um, Maybe because she's gone through a lot of that. I'm gaining thing, but I'm also losing it. I'm gaining it, I'm losing it. So it's very confusing,
Hmm.
and it kind of creates a lot of like stress when it comes to like specifically her genetics. I think well, it's not affecting her genetics for the past lives, but Ceres represents epigenetics. So whatever changes she's making now, carried from her past life and whatever or earlier life into the future, will
Hmm.
affect her genetics.
Mm.
So, and it does come from the family. This ability to stand your ground, be decisive, connected to nature. It's part of her ancestry. It runs in your family.
Mm.
In Taurus, not really sure, but it is in the fourth house, so it's through you, not the father.
Hmm.
But it could be the father, unless you were the wage earner and the father was not. Whatever. By the way, it is inherited. Okay. She'll go through a lot of cycles, and that's part of it. She'll have to go through that sense of like, if I don't have, that's fine. If I have, that's also fine. Right?
Hmm.
Being present and saying it's not about scarcity or abundance anymore. Right? So yeah. Okay, here it says shows here. Okay, she is being called to sexual abstinence.
Mm,
Okay, that makes sense. Okay. But sexual abstinence doesn't necessarily mean she will not use sexual power.
mm,
She can use it for other things too, right? Sexual power is creative power. It's
mhm,
strong, right? Um, I don't know if she's had, yeah, we talked about this before. Yeah, she's had issues with human the fertility,
mhm.
right? Hmm. So she didn't get married, right? She wasn't married yet.
No, she's married.
She's married. Oh, let me double check here. 24 degrees. Was some of her past relationship like abusive?
I don't think so. I mean, uh,
Oh, okay. Unless it's no, no, no. It's not abusive. It's
mm,
maybe it's triggering. Probably the relationship she's had is triggering because Nessus right here is about using that sexual power, or rather,
mm,
working with the trauma,
mhm.
deep-seated distrust, extreme jealousy, karmic
Yeah.
shadow.
Mm,
Um, then Loki here is feeling like there's uncertainty behind it because it's very like I don't know where this is going. There's always changes happening.
right.
So, but I think it's because it's retrograde. It's more like um, it's not so much that it's changing. Maybe it isn't changing at all. Maybe it is stable because it is in retrograde, so it pulls back that energy of Loki. Sorry, I'm
Mm-hmm.
looking for where's that? It's not showing up. 1 second. Okay, here we go. Unless she feels like, yeah, she probably doesn't feel trapped in that relationship, but there could be.
Yes, she does.
She does.
Hmm.
Okay, so sorry, he's right. Okay,
At
maybe she
least
got
right
married.
now.
Maybe she got married for specific reasons, like
Yeah, to have a
it would.
child, probably.
Yeah. So she has to watch out for the issues regarding anger or wrath, and
Hmm.
that you know, like the fighting,
Hmm.
insults, right, all that stuff
Hmm.
in the marriage.
Hmm.
Fighting, okay. It's almost like it's almost like the person she married has become an enemy.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Is it erratic? Do you feel like the relationship is erratic and unpredictable?
Um, Not lately. It's pretty
Okay.
predictable. But
Okay.
yeah, before, maybe.
Okay. Because if yeah, so they're gonna have to deal with that as a couple, because
Yeah, they have.
otherwise it can what do you call that?
Right.
Escalate.
Right.
So yeah, yeah. So yeah, she might feel like there's some sort of something barring her from
Sure.
yeah, because it affects her path. If you have this
Hmm.
local nessus right here and it's square north node, it's
Mm.
learning to stand her ground, be present, and just kind of like seeing it for what it is instead of creating all these other things that the mind wants to give us. Like
Right.
maybe it's not even what it is. Maybe it's just that one could be that they're just totally different and that's okay.
Yeah.
And if she needs to break it off, she breaks it off.
Right. Hmm.
Okay. So I hope that helps.
Yeah.
Happy birthday to her. It's a little dark there, but that's the truth. I'm sorry to say the truth,
No,
but that's
no,
what it is.
that's, hey, we all have that.
Okay.
Hopefully not, but we can. So,
Okay.
yeah. No, no, no,
So,
no, no. Thank you.
okay.
Thank you.
Okay. You enjoy
Yeah.
your dinner and I'll see
All
you.
right. All
If you have
right.
any
We'll
questions,
talk.
let me know.
Okay, we'll do. We'll talk soon.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank
Have fun.
you.
Okay.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
I hope you guys enjoyed that. It was a little very direct of me, possibly because like I'm just a little more direct now. But my intention is never to tell you what to do. No astrologer should be able to do that. It's you leave the intentions and the decisions up to the sitter or the client, whoever you call them. Um, and yeah, I apologize if it was just a little too dry, or rather low energy. I was just coming in from, well, I had a big lunch, and it was still, I wasn't say big, but kind of. Um, I was very, like, you could say somber, I don't know. But anyways, yeah, it was still a very interesting reading. But for those who have any questions, comment in like below. And don't forget to subscribe. I know I don't really ask that, but I'm asking now. Like and subscribe. Thank you for guys for watching. I hope to see you guys later. Always from the heart. Thank you. Bye.